You're listening to The RealWealth Show with Kathy Fettke, the real estate investor's resource.
Podcast land can be full of real estate experts or people and companies trying to promote themselves. And for a new investor, it can be a little overwhelming and sometimes feel like, where do I start? Well, today's guest is starting out, and we're going to do sort of a live coaching session here on The RealWealth Show. I'm Kathy Fettke, and welcome. Kyle Parker is an engineer by trade, but in the last year, he's been going down the rabbit hole of real estate and business ownership after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He has since invested in a handful of syndications, but is looking to accelerate his non-W-2 income so that he can be job optional sooner than later. And he's here to tell us what he's got planned and maybe how I can help him. Welcome, Kyle. Great to have you here.
Yeah, Kathy, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
So you were just starting your real estate investing journey, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, what are you currently doing for income?
Well, currently, both me and my wife still work at our full-time jobs. We're both engineers here in Houston, Texas. Outside of that, I've been investing in syndications so far, and then also investigating really any other means to get both passive income. And then I'm also looking at kind of a more active role in other opportunities such as quads or a small multi-units or even small businesses. So really just going down what's going to be best for me and our family.
Sure. So how are you going about doing that, deciding what to invest in and how to do that on the side if you have, full-time jobs?
Yeah, so right now what I'm wrestling with is the best place I should put my money. There's so many good opportunities, and then also listening to your show, y'all talk about so many different markets. So what I'm trying to focus on is which market I should be in, and then also what works best for both mine and my wife's risk profile. My wife is more risk averse, so I try to make sure that any investment we do, I know that she will be okay with. But yeah, we have two young kids at 8 and 5, so right now being passive is also a very important part of it.
Yeah, so tell me about those conversations with your wife and how you've come to an agreement. I mean, how are you able to move forward when you have different opinions?
Yeah, for the most part, she trusts my research and everything I've done and the people I talk to. But despite not doing a whole lot of research on her end, because it's just not something that interests her as much, she does ask really good questions. She's incredibly bright, and so it is nice to have her just ask questions, and then I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, and then we either go forward or don't, or think differently about the next one. So it's been really nice having her in my corner.
Do you sit down like with weekly financial meetings, or when do those conversations happen?
Usually happens more whenever we're about to invest in a deal, and then we don't have official meetings, but then we're just kind of always talking about our finances and as far as keeping track of expenses and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the way you talk about it, it makes it sound so simple. As hey, we sit down and talk about it. She asks questions. I give her my research. We decide together. This is a hard thing for a lot of couples to even just talk about finances.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've worked through that.
Yeah. We've both been blessed. We both have good jobs. We both work really hard, but yeah, she's just very trusting, and she knows I put in the homework. And then I try to back it up with what I investigate with and the people I've talked to. So, so far it's been a good relationship financially.
Yeah. And that's a great tip for people. If you really want your spouse to be on board with the plan, make sure they have all the information,
right? Make
sure they've got the data. You don't just say, hey, I want to buy this property. And, that would cause great concern. But I assume you're showing her spreadsheets and data research and all that. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I just like, I don't want any GPs to hide anything from me. I do my best to lay it out for her and concerns that I might have, but how I think they might be mitigated by the syndication group. So.
Yeah. So right now you've been investing in apartment syndications, or?
Some of them have been apartments, some car washes, hotel, so kind of a wide variety of um, different asset classes.
And how's that gone so far?
So far, so good. Like I said, I'm still new on my real estate journey. It wasn't until about a year ago when we were actually skiing and we were staying at a friend of a friend's kind of thing, and it was a really nice house on the mountain. And I was like, how does Mitt Romney and Donald Trump not pay taxes? How are they? Why are they crucified? Every 4 years. How do they do that? And so that really took me down the rabbit hole. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad much later than I would have liked to, and that's just kind of snowballed since then. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. If you have two high income earning employees in a family, the taxes can really, wow, they can be rough when you don't have a lot of write-offs. So what is your plan then? Would you say that's your most important objective right now, is to cut taxes?
Yeah, that's the next thing I'm looking at. As a W-2 employee, both me and my wife, there's not a whole lot of options. So I'm definitely going down the rabbit hole of reading Tom Wheelwright's books and trying to find the best avenues for, thinking of the government as a partner and looking for those tax savings versus, trying to find a loophole or anything like that. So I'm doing everything I can to find the right path. But from everything I've found, it's either through real estate or business ownership. That's the only two avenues where I'm going to find a lot of savings. So,
and if you're an employee, that kind of leaves real estate, right?
right.
Unless you're planning on leaving and starting your own business or being a contractor, which can be difficult.
Right.
Okay, so number one objective, first objective is reducing taxes. Were you able to take advantage of some of the bonus depreciation and tax benefits of 2022?
Yes, we will be able to almost on I think all the assets that we're invested in will have some bonus depreciation for this year.
Fantastic. Good for you. Well, that's a big step in the right direction. So what would you say you would like to create in 2023? Like, let's just say that we're talking a year from now. What would you be proud that you did over 2023?
Oh, that's a great question. I would definitely like to just have exponentially more knowledge. I feel like I'm just getting started. So looking into different local RIA meetups and trying to just get more people around me that also have similar interests, but are also a little bit ahead of me so that I can learn from them, really jumpstart that growth. Those are probably the main things I'd really want to focus on. I know the passive income will come as I learn more and invest more, but those are probably the two most important things I'd really like to focus on.
Okay, so education and on what specifically?
Probably where they're seeing the best opportunities, where other people have had the best, not luck, but just the best success, both locally and then also in other markets as well. So Houston's a good market, but I know there's other markets as well.
Okay, for you owning your own portfolio.
I'm sorry. Just continuing to invest, whether it's through syndications. Just by talking about it, I met a guy at a soccer practice with my boy. He buys land and develops, and so we've been looking, or he's been looking, and we've talked about investing together and doing that. So just that's one of the things. Just making more connections and having more opportunities, more shots on goal.
Yeah. Okay. So that might include, talking to more people, maybe going to more meetings, more investor events.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what have you seen that's really kind of caught your attention of what you would potentially be investing in 2023? Would it be more of the same or something different?
I think right now we're going to continue on the passive role. I think in the future, maybe as some of those syndications roll off and I start to get a feet a little bit more under me on this new real estate business ownership role. I'd like to, being able to focus on small apartment complexes that not are centrally located. So that way, I'm focusing on all my units are in the same place, basically, is what I'm trying to say, and not
Mhm.
run around town. So really looking for any kind of cost savings, I guess I can, and just trying to still keep my time my own, and also so I can keep going to my kids' soccer games and plays and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So time's really
Yeah.
important right now.
So in addition to reducing taxes, are you both happy at your jobs, or do one of you want to, um, stop working?
Yeah, that's been probably one of the more trying parts. Is we both really like our job.
Hmm.
We both are
Well,
really
good.
against
That's a good
here.
thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good problem. We both really enjoy it, but you know, you see so much tax go out the door every year. I know that we have to just continue to fight that via investing, whether it's real estate or
Mhm.
businesses. So that's just the path we're going down. Just trying to continue to reduce that number while increasing our income as well.
Yeah, you're what we call a Henry at Real Wealth. Have you heard that term?
I have not.
It's a high earner, not rich yet. And I certainly don't know your situation, but when you're a high earner, so much of that money does go to taxes, and the rest goes to life. And so, how do you, um, how do you set aside money for investment?
Yeah, so me and my wife love to travel, and so we're introducing our kids to that. You know, our family went to 3 different countries this year, so we have different things we like to do. So one's traveling, the other's investing. We just try to keep a close eye on our expenses and plan for the future. We almost have all of 2023's vacations planned, so from there, anything that's excess of that is going to be put towards savings. And we're also still, doing our other savings, but then this is kind of like on top of that. So yeah, we do our best to plan for all life events.
Okay. I mean, do you set aside like 10% of your income for investing, or, what's the process that you use?
Right now, we're probably closer to in the 30 to 40%, which kind of,
Wow.
yeah.
That's incredible. And so you stick with a pretty tight budget and then
Yeah, we have
invest.
pretty tight budgets. I mean, we've been blessed. I mean, we have minimal debt, so that's just been one that, like I said, my wife's risk averse, so having minimizing debt's been one of her passions. So I help with that. But then on the other side, we really like to travel and save, and I like to invest. So it's kind of been a good marriage, as far as
Yeah.
us all liking the same things and different things. So
Yeah. I mean, I love what you're saying is that it's almost like a very disciplined life of living within your means, but also living a great life.
right.
There's a balancing act there, right? So how do you determine how much you can spend on having that great life versus, what you would put aside for investing?
Yeah, that's a tough question. We really treat vacations just kind of as they come. My wife rides horses, and her group is going to Ireland to ride horses. And so, as a
Mm.
spouse, I'm going to go with her. And so, that's just something that's kind of popped up. So, we're going to go on. But you know, kids are only so small, so we try to do fun things like the Disney while the magic's still there. And then as they get older, we'll move into more maybe like hiking trips or something else that they might enjoy a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just trying not to let life pass us by. We'd definitely rather die with an average amount of money, but have lived life versus just dying with a stack of money and
Yeah.
having lived in our home and just hoarded it all our lives. So that's kind of our general thesis.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that life does go quickly and there's no guarantees how long we'll be here.
Yeah, I mean, your husband. I heard him on multiple podcasts before I found Real Wealth. I mean, his story really struck me. My wife has an uncle who has MS, and it was just one day he went for a jog and tripped, and then went to the doctor and was diagnosed, and now he's wheelchair bound. So I think about him a lot whenever I think about how quick life can change on you. So we try not to really take anything for granted and say, oh, we'll do that vacation next year or something like that.
Yeah.
So we've been blessed with the financial means to take vacations and save and invest. So we're trying to do it to the best of our ability today.
Yeah, I love that. Rich was forever changed, obviously, when with that diagnosis and the doctor looking at him and saying, you have 6 months to live. And it was it was a pivotal moment for us because he actually, after the shock of it, he just was like, you know what? I'm so glad I lived.
Mm-hmm.
It was something I'll never forget. He just like, I feel complete. Obviously, he wanted to keep living. Oh, he had a 2-year-old child. He wanted
Right.
to watch her grow up, and he has. She's 23 now. But at the time, he felt like I don't have regrets. And in his book, Extreme Success, one of the things that he did when we first met is he would always take Fridays off. He's like, if you can't get, and this is as a self-employed person, but he thought if you can't get your job done in 4 days, then maybe you're just not being effective enough. Now, I don't know if that's always true, and certainly not with a startup,
Right.
but, he would commit to Fridays, going out rock climbing with the guys, going skiing, living, taking, like you said, taking the kids somewhere fun when they're little, and those years pass so quickly. And because of that, he really did feel fulfilled. Like, if God were to take him, he would be at peace with that.
Right. Yeah, no, his story was great. I mean, it really hit me on multiple levels. I think he was probably the first person I really heard talk about wealth being measured in something other than dollars. So that really hit home with me. So that's something I try to remember each day and make sure I'm working for the right reasons, but also taking that time off.
Yeah, love that. And, sometimes we just need to write down that bucket list, and otherwise, time passes and maybe we never get to it. Like for me personally, my bucket list was to take my dad on an Alaskan cruise. He always wanted to do that, and he passed before I was able to make that happen. So yeah, just don't wait. Do those things that matter most. Because in the end, really what matters most, it's not the money in the bank.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, it's the memories in the memory bank. Okay, well, what would be some advice you would give to people who are, starting out and investing, or what are some of the things you've learned over the years that you've been doing this?
Man, if I had to pass on anything, one of the things I'm working on is I pass on the rich dad poor dad to my cousins and people younger than me. That's what I would want if I were 22, is to kind of have that knowledge and kind of have something to work towards as a younger individual. So I would pass on just learning as much as you can, but also acting. Both of those things are important. Risk is usually when you don't know what you're doing. So by learning, I've tried to mitigate the risks. So I'm not just investing blindly, but I would just learn, talk to people, listen to podcasts like yours, and just continue to learn, but also take action. That's a lot of people just sit there and learn, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid we have a close friend who's been like that. We've known since the beginning, and he hasn't invested yet. So hopefully that will change. Okay, well, and with totally passive syndications, investments in somebody else's deal. How do you research that? Because it's a big packet, right? You're trying to underwrite or analyze whatever is the things you were saying you're investing in. If you haven't done that before, how are you supposed to vet it?
Yeah, so I've researched all of the syndications, both from getting people to contact from them and also just being online and researching myself. The next thing I do is I look at the different markets that I'm looking at investing in. Once read as a good market is like rowing a boat downstream. So at least, that makes it a little bit easier on their part. So even if maybe the project turns out to be okay, you still have the market kind of carrying you. So I hate to fall back on the market, but it's a good tailwind to have. Also, just through again doing research, I mean, the housing market's just so undersupplied, and I think it will be for years to come. So, I also invest in stocks, and I do the same thing with stocks, looking at what's some of the different things that are have some bull tendencies in the next years to come. So yeah, just research investigation.
Very good. All right, Kyle. Well, I know our team was excited to have you on the show. They're like, "Oh, you got to talk to this guy. He's very interesting and perfect example of just someone at your age trying to figure out how to balance it all, kind of like Rich wrote in his book, The Wise Investor, building that career, but also wanting to invest in family and children and health. It's a balancing act, but it sounds like you're doing a great job at it.
Yeah, I try my best. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on the Real Wealth Show. It's been great to have you.
Thank you, Kathy.
And thank you for joining me here on The Real Wealth Show. If you're interested in one of our most recent syndications, just go to growdevelopment.com. That's our single family rental fund in North Texas, where the deals are unbelievable and we are being very aggressive with very little competition. An example of one of our most recent acquisitions was a $120,000 home. Needs about $20,000 to $30,000 in renovation, and the ARV is about $220,000. And this is right by where there's massive, massive job growth in the area. So again, if you want to find out how to invest completely passively, like Kyle was talking about, just go to growdevelopments.com. And if you want to build your own portfolio with some assistance and help and lots of free education, investment counselors, and information on best markets and referrals to teams in those markets who've worked with Real Wealth members for years to help them build their portfolios, just go to realwealthshow.com. I'm Kathy Fettke, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to realwealthshow.com.